Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another late night cozy winter horror review. This is a great sort of environment to do horror reviews, isn't it? Late at night with sort of candlelight. It sort of brings a little bit more spookiness to the review. As tonight we're looking at a Dracula story called The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Now, Demeter is a ship, and this story is based on a ship. In Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, Dracula came from Eastern Europe on the ship to Britain, where he brought like an old abbey sort of thing, you know, to live in. And this is based on that voyage, because in the book it's not very much is told about what happened on there, because when it arrived the crew were missing or dead. That's all the book describes, and out come the ship come pestilence. If you've seen Dracula or Nosferatu, you've seen that arrive by things like rats and things like this. So this takes a different dimension to it. The film starts in Romania. I'm not sure if this is an American or British film. It's a British cast, I'll tell you that, and it's filmed around Europe and in Britain. The film actually starts in Whitby, which isn't far from here in Yorkshire, which is a little fishing port, and that's where Bram Stoker actually got his lot of his influence in the book Dracula. And it starts off at Whitby, where we find the Demeter sort of half ruined up against the shore, and there's no crew on there at all, and all they find is like the captain's log. And then the story starts from the captain's log, and we read about it from Romania, where we got our sort of captain sort of getting together a crew to take these deliveries over to England, these big crates of delivery. And so they get their crew, and amongst the crew is our main sort of protagonist, Sam's not hero as such, but character, Mr. Clements. He joins the ship, and they set off on their voyage to England. Now, and there's something obviously strange going on. I mean, there's a young lad on the ship, and he becomes friends with Mr. Clements. They become friends, and he shows them around the ship and all this sort of thing as the ship sets voyage. And then sort of as the voyage carries on, strange things start to happen on the ship. All the livestock they got on there are killed, including the pet dog called Huckleberry. So yeah, and then as we know from the film that on board in these crates is rotten soil from the castle area where Dracula lives, and in of another box is Dracula. But also in one of the crates of there's also a girl in there, which Dracula was sort of brought along for his food. But Mr. Clements, who's in fact a doctor, finds her and gives her blood transfusions, and she sort of like comes around, and sort of then she starts explaining to them about this creature that's on board the ship. And night by night we see the crew being taken down by our creature of the night. And it's a wonderful film. It's really, really cool. It does bring a completely different sort of view or aspect to this voyage, because it's very unclear in the book what actually happened to the crew. So it's all left to interpretation. And this is just an interpretation. A lot of people reviews give it a little bit of a bad review because because these are the people that think it's sacred to not sort of delve into things like this. I think it's all fair game, to be honest. If it's left to interpretation, put it out there, and that's what's wonderful about it. It's a really well sort of paced film. It does pretty much, I'd say, 95% of the film takes place on this ship, which is wonderful. The ship looks amazing. The set designs are fantastic. I'm going to score this an amazing watch and give it a 8.5 out of 10. I wanted to give it a 9, but there's a couple of things that little bit. I'll talk to you about them as I go along. So I'll give it 8.5 out of 10. It's a really excellent, awesome film, and it's really well played out. The pluses of this edition, I've only bought the Blu-ray. It is available in 4K, and I kind of wish I had bought the 4K, but in a way I'm quite happy with the Blu-ray, because the 4K was like £25-30. It's double the price of the Blu-ray, so I was quite happy to buy that for the price. It looks amazing. It looks absolutely stunning. Yes, there's a lot of CGI in it, but it's quite subtle. It's not like looks really artificial. It looks really, really good. Our creature looks good. There's lots of good effects in there. There's a little bit of gore in there, and there's some sort of good sort of like deaths within the film. And I like the whole sort of voyage on the ship, and it's really beautifully, amazingly shot. Negatives of the film. Now, there is a couple that I thought, okay, what is that about? And that is to do with the ending, which I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it, because the ending sort of veers off from the novel. If I would have liked it to have been followed on to the actual novel bit, where it's in at the port and it sort of follows the novel, but it doesn't. It veers off from it. To me, that's a negative. And the other negative to me is we see way too much of the creature, and we see it quite soon in the film. I would have liked to have maybe only just seen glimpses of it, or not at all even. I think that would have been even better, because sometimes the creature, it looks great, but in other times it looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings or something. And I just think we didn't need to see it. I would have preferred to have not seen it. And as Dracula was renowned to turn to rats, fog, and all these sort of things, and a wolf, we could have had aspects of that. There was a little bit of fog aspect to the film, which was really cool. But I would have liked it to have been where our creature does these transformations as Dracula was well known for being able to do, rather than seeing him so much in the film. But that doesn't take it away from being a great film. I just think it gives away too much. And I like a film that makes you want to use your head a bit more, because that makes it more terrifying and more scary. I wasn't scared within the film. Very little in the name of jump scares. But it's a very gorgeous looking horror film. And it's, for a big budget film, it is a big budget film. It's made by DreamWorks. So it's a big budget, massive budget film. And for that kind of thing, for a horror film, it's really cool. I really enjoyed it. It does sit well within the sort of Dracula universe. It does, and it almost looks and plays along quite similar to the is it Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula with Gary Oldman. It would fit in really well with that sort of environment, more so than like the latest Nosferatu. It sits in well more with that, but it's still really, really cool, and I really enjoyed it. Last Voyage of the Demeter, 8.5 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below. My lad's seen it and he really enjoyed it. I think he told me he gave it like a 9 out of 10. He really enjoyed it. And I think it's really cool for a big budget horror film. And it plays out like a big budget horror film. The soundtrack is big budget with a big orchestra. And it's really good and really nice. The cast is wonderful. It's a pretty much all British cast, which was fantastic, and I like that too. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is an American produced film or British. It doesn't really matter, but it's really, really cool. So check it out if you get a chance. If you don't, check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, The Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzawell, I'm Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrews, Haunted House. And a massive shout out to my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.